Welcome, my friends. Today, we're not just summarizing another book. We are entering a world of stars, love, roses, childhood, pain, truth, and invisible things that matter more than anything in this world. This is The Little Prince, a book that has sold more than 200 million copies, translated into over 500 languages and dialects, and loved not just by children, but by people of all ages from every part of the world. It's one of the most read, most gifted, most quoted, and even most tattooed books in human history. But here's the truth. Most people read it without ever truly understanding it. They think it's just a children's story about a boy and a flower. They read it in school and forget it like homework. But it's different. Because today I'm going to take you deep into the meaning of every chapter, every symbol, every word, every tear, every hidden lesson the author left for us during the war, when he wrote with a broken heart, with pain, and with the dream of teaching adults the truth they forgot as children. This video matters because this book is not about fantasy. It's about childhood and how we lose it. It's about love and how we misunderstand it. It's about responsibility and why it hurts. It's about the invisible things, what we feel, what we believe, what we give to someone we love, and what they may never see. And if you're here to learn English, this is perfect for you. Because The Little Prince is written in simple English, but filled with deep emotions. It will help you understand English through feeling, not just grammar. You'll hear real storytelling, improve your listening, and connect to a language in the most natural way. This is not a summary. This is a journey. We're going to walk beside the little prince, from his planet to Earth, from confusion to understanding, from his rose to his goodbye. And we won't rush, because some books don't need speed. They need soul. So stay with me until the end. Open your notebook, open your heart, and let's begin this unforgettable journey. Only here. Chapter 1. The Drawing That No One Understood. The story begins not with the prince, but with the narrator, a man, a pilot, a grown-up. When he was a little boy, he loved drawing. One day, he drew a picture of a boa constrictor, a giant snake that had swallowed an elephant. It looked like this, a strange shape, round, closed, mysterious. He showed it to the adults. They said, "Why would you draw a hat?" They couldn't see the elephant inside. They couldn't imagine. They couldn't feel. So the boy tried again. He drew the snake from the inside, showing the elephant inside the belly. Now the adults said, "Stop drawing. Do something useful, like geography, math, or grammar." So he stopped drawing. He gave up on being an artist. He became a pilot. But deep inside, he never forgot that feeling of being a child, full of imagination in a world of adults who only see with their eyes, not with their heart. This first chapter is a warning that most people lose their vision as they grow. They don't see what things really are. They only see what they're told. And this book is going to teach us to see again, like children. Chapter 2. The Boy with Golden Hair. Years later, the narrator becomes a real pilot. But one day while flying over the Sahara Desert, something goes wrong. His engine breaks. He crashes alone, far from any help. He has only enough water for 8 days, no people, no cities, no hope. He spends the first night sleeping under the stars, and then just as the sun rises, he hears a small voice. "Please draw me a sheep." He opens his eyes and sees a little boy with golden hair, a scarf, and eyes that looked like they came from another world. No fear, no hello, just "Draw me a sheep." The narrator is shocked. Who is this child? How did he get here? What is he doing alone in the middle of the desert? But the boy asks again, gently but seriously, "Please, draw me a sheep." So the narrator tries. He draws a sheep. "No," the boy says. "This one is sick." "Another one?" "No, this one has horns. I want a real sheep." The narrator becomes tired, so he draws a box and says, The sheep is inside this box. And finally, the boy smiles. That's exactly what I wanted. This is where the magic begins, because for the first time in years, the narrator is talking to someone who sees with imagination, like he once did as a child. And slowly, piece by piece, the little prince begins to tell his story, where he came from, why he left, and what he's looking for. Chapter 3. The Planet from Far Away. The little prince slowly begins to open up. He doesn't give answers easily. He doesn't say, "I'm from planet B612. He speaks like a child who carries a big sadness inside. The narrator, the pilot, asks him, "Where are you from?" But the boy doesn't answer. Instead, he asks, "When a sheep eats bushes, does it also eat flowers?" The narrator is confused. Yes, if the flower has no thorns. Then what are the thorns for? This simple question becomes deeper than it seems. The prince wants to know, why do flowers grow thorns if they can't protect themselves? And he keeps asking, with more emotion, more fire, why would a flower try to defend itself if it's still in danger? Why? Tell me. Suddenly, he reveals what's inside his heart. He's not just asking about flowers. He's thinking about one flower, the one on his planet, the rose he left behind, the rose he loves but doesn't understand. The narrator tries to calm him, to say, thorns don't really matter. But the prince becomes angry. He shouts, "You talk like the grown-ups. You care about numbers, screws, engines, but I care about something else, something that matters more." And then his voice breaks, and for the first time, he cries. He misses his flower. He feels alone. And even though he's just a boy, in that moment, he carries the weight of heartbreak, confusion, and helpless love. The narrator, feeling sorry, holds him and says gently, "The flower you love is not in danger. I'll draw a muzzle for your sheep and a fence for your flower." And slowly, the prince calms down. This chapter shows us something deep. Children feel love more deeply than adults. They ask questions not to get facts, but to understand the world inside them. And when you laugh at their questions, you hurt their soul. This is a message to every adult. Never kill a child's curiosity. It may be their way of asking for love. Chapter 4. The Secret of Asteroid, B612. Now the narrator begins to guess. This little boy must have come from a tiny planet. And finally we learn the name, Asteroid B612. But here's something powerful. The narrator says that when a Turkish astronomer first discovered this asteroid, he was laughed at because he wore traditional Turkish clothes. Later, when he gave the same presentation wearing a European suit, people believed him. What does that teach us? Adults believe things not based on truth, but based on appearances. They listen to suits, not souls. They respect numbers, not meaning. The narrator even says, grown-ups like numbers. They ask how old you are, how much money your father makes, how much your house costs. But they never ask what makes you happy, or if you like butterflies. This chapter is full of pain. It shows how the world kills magic with seriousness, how people forget imagination and choose only what is useful. But The Little Prince was never about usefulness. It's about what's invisible but important. And the narrator ends this chapter by saying, "I'm telling you these details not for the grown-ups, but for you, the real listener, because you know what matters. You can see with your heart. This is your reminder. Don't become one of them. Stay soft. Stay curious. Stay awake." Chapter 5. The Baobabs and the Warning. Now we learn more about the prince's planet. It is tiny, very tiny. So tiny that if he walks a few steps, he can watch a sunset again and again. But it also has a secret danger, baobabs. These are trees that start as small seeds. They look harmless, just like any other little plant. But if you don't pull them out early, they grow into giant monsters with roots that can destroy the whole planet. So every day, the little prince carefully checks his planet. He pulls out the baobabs while they're still small. It's his daily responsibility. Now listen carefully, because this is not just about trees. This is a metaphor for life. Baobabs are bad habits, negative thoughts, lies, laziness, toxic friends, self-doubt, fear. They start small. One little excuse, one skipped dream, one bad influence, and suddenly they grow so big, they destroy your inner world. That's why the little prince says, it's a matter of discipline. And the narrator agrees. If someone is lazy, they might let one baobab grow too long and it will ruin everything. This chapter gives one of the biggest lessons of the book. If you want to protect your life, pull out the baobabs early. Don't wait until the problem becomes too big to handle. Deal with it now. And this is not just advice for children. It's a wake-up call for every adult, because most people's lives fall apart not because of one big thing, but because they ignored many small things. This chapter ends with the narrator saying, I have warned you, and I've drawn the baobabs in great detail so you never forget. Chapter 6. The Sunsets of Sadness. The little prince starts talking about something strange, something beautiful, something deeply emotional, watching sunsets. He says very quietly, I love sunsets. When I'm very sad, I like to watch them. The narrator smiles and says, sunsets are beautiful. But then the boy says something that makes us pause. One day I watched the sunset 44 times. The narrator is shocked. 44? And the prince replies, you know, when one is so sad, sunsets help. Now, let's understand what's really going on here. On Earth, we can watch only one sunset each day, unless we move to a new place. But the prince lives on a tiny planet, so small that if he moves his chair a few steps, he can watch the sunset again and again and again. That day, he watched 44 sunsets. That means he was deeply, painfully sad. He didn't say why, he didn't cry, he just watched, silently. And that's how some hearts speak, not with words, but with sunsets. This chapter tells us something that most people never realize. Sometimes beauty is how we survive sadness. The prince didn't scream, he didn't beg, he didn't explain his pain. He just watched the sky change colors over and over again, as if trying to understand something that was breaking inside him. And most people miss the deeper truth of this chapter. But you won't. Because now you know when someone watches too many sunsets, maybe they're not admiring the view. Maybe they're trying to stop themselves from falling apart. Chapter 7. The Argument, the Screw, and the Tears. This chapter begins with a very real moment. The narrator, the pilot, is busy fixing his airplane. He has a serious problem with his engine. He's hot, tired, stressed, and worried about dying in the desert. And suddenly, the little prince asks a strange question. If a sheep eats bushes, does it also eat flowers? Even the ones with thorns? The narrator, not in the mood, replies, yes, probably. He's focused on his tools, his engine, his water, his survival. But the prince keeps asking about thorns, again and again. Finally, the narrator gets angry. He shouts, I don't know. I'm trying to fix something serious here. He's frustrated. He doesn't understand why this boy keeps asking silly questions when they're both in danger. And then, the little prince falls silent and softly he says, you talk just like the grown-ups. The narrator freezes. The boy continues, slowly, emotionally. You confuse everything. You mix up everything. You talk about serious things, but you don't know what's important. And then he says, if someone loves a flower that only exists on one planet, and if that flower might be eaten by a sheep, then that's important. That's serious. And suddenly, he begins to cry. He covers his face with his hands. His shoulders shake, and all the sadness he had hidden through 44 sunsets comes out. If my flower is gone, it's like all the stars go out. The narrator feels ashamed. He kneels beside him and says gently, your flower is not in danger. I will draw a muzzle for your sheep. I'll draw a fence. I'll protect your rose. This chapter breaks the heart because for the first time, we see the little prince's pain in full light. He doesn't care about engines. He doesn't care about screws. He doesn't care about survival. He cares about one flower on a faraway planet, a flower that may not survive, a flower he left behind, a flower he still loves. And that's how love feels sometimes. Even when you're in danger yourself, you only care if they are okay. Chapter 8. The rose appears. Finally, we learn the full story of the flower, the one the little prince has been crying for. She appeared one day, slowly, quietly, growing from a mysterious seed that had never been seen before. At first, the prince was amazed. She was beautiful, so elegant, so graceful. Her petals opened one by one, but very soon she began to speak. She was proud. She was demanding. She would say things like, "You haven't put a screen around me." "What if there are tigers?" The prince tried to explain there were no tigers, but she kept making dramatic comments. She would say, "I don't like the wind. I need a glass dome. You must admire me." And the prince, confused and in love, did everything she asked, but inside he began to feel doubt, pain, frustration. He didn't understand why she acted this way, why she wasn't more grateful, why she seemed to care more about being admired than being close to him. But the truth was, the flower was shy. She didn't know how to show love, so she wore pride as her mask. This chapter is one of the most painful of all because it teaches us something real. Sometimes the one we love the most is also the one we hurt the most, not because we want to, but because we don't know how to love properly yet. The rose wasn't evil. She was insecure. The prince wasn't heartless. He was confused. And between two people who loved each other, silence grew. Chapter 9. The Farewell to the Flower. After many days of silent sadness, the little prince makes his final decision. He will leave his planet. He wants to understand the world. He wants to know why his heart is hurting. He wants to visit other planets and maybe forget the pain. But before he leaves, he has to say goodbye to his volcanoes, to his tiny planet, and to his flower. He cleans out his 2 active volcanoes, which he uses to cook breakfast. He also cleans the 3rd one, which is extinct. He says, "You never know." And then the hardest part begins. He goes to his flower. She is proud, as always, but also softer than before. She says, "I was wrong to treat you badly. Please be happy. Don't put the glass dome over me anymore. I don't need it. I'll be fine. I'm strong. I love you." The little prince is surprised. She's finally showing her love, but he's already leaving. There is a long silence between them. No hugs, no dramatic tears, just a quiet, painful goodbye. The flower says, "Don't wait around. You decided to go, so go." And the prince walks away. Now let's pause here and understand something very, very deep. This moment is not just a goodbye. It's a lesson in real love. The flower doesn't say, "Don't leave, take me with you, you'll regret this." She simply says, "Be happy, that's enough." And this is what true love looks like sometimes, letting someone go even when it breaks your heart, not controlling them, not begging them, just quietly wishing them peace and hiding your pain behind the wind. This chapter is short in words, but infinite in meaning. Chapter 10. The Planet of the King. The little prince begins his journey. He visits a series of tiny planets, each one with just one grown-up. The first planet has a king on it. This king wears a long robe. He sits on a throne. There are no people around, but he still acts important. The king sees the little prince and says, "Ah, a subject." The prince replies politely, "Excuse me, sir, may I sit down?" The king says, "I order you to sit down." The prince asks questions like, "Do you rule the whole planet? And the stars too?" The king says, "Yes, he rules everything." The prince is amazed. "Can you order the sun to set?" The king replies, "Yes, I will, but I must wait for the right moment. Then it will obey." The little prince is confused. This king only gives orders that will happen anyway, so he can say he's always obeyed. Then the prince says, "Can you order me to leave now?" The king says, "I order you to leave, but come back soon." Now, let's break this down. This king shows us the adult obsession with control. He wants to be seen as powerful. He gives orders to no one. He pretends to rule everything, but in truth, he is alone. He only orders things that would happen anyway just to feel important. This chapter is about fake power, about people who want respect but do nothing to earn it. People who chase the title but have no connection, who want followers but no relationships, who want to rule but don't know how to lead. And the prince? He sees through it immediately. He is polite, but he leaves. He is searching for something real, not a throne, not power. He's looking for meaning. Chapter 11. The Planet of the Vain Man. The next planet is home to a vain man. He wears fancy clothes. He smiles big. He stands like a statue. When he sees the little prince, he says, "Ah, an admirer." The prince is confused. The vain man says, "Clap your hands." The prince claps. The man bows. Again, clap, bow, bow. The prince asks, "Do you really admire me?" The man replies, "Of course." But what does that mean exactly? He doesn't know, but he still wants to be admired by anyone for anything. He doesn't care who the prince is. He just wants applause. This is a powerful and sad image because we all know people like this. People who only live for attention, who want likes, comments, praise, but have nothing real inside. No soul, no substance, just a mask. This man is not evil. He's just empty, and that's even more painful. He believes that being admired means being loved, but love is not clapping. It's not performance. It's not about being seen. It's about being known. The little prince soon gets bored. He sees that the man doesn't care about him, only about himself. So he leaves again, still searching, still lonely, still trying to understand why people become like this. Chapter 12. The Planet of the Drunkard. This planet is small, lonely, and dark. The prince arrives and sees a man sitting quietly. The man has a bottle in one hand and empty bottles all around him. The prince asks, "What are you doing?" The man says, "I'm drinking." The prince asks, "Why are you drinking?" The man replies, "To forget." "Forget what?" "To forget that I'm ashamed." "Ashamed of what?" "Ashamed of drinking." And the prince is speechless. He doesn't understand this kind of adult. He simply leaves quietly and sadly. Let's now understand the deep meaning of this short but emotional chapter. This drunkard is not just a joke. He is a symbol of something very real, something you see every day. People who are trapped in cycles of pain. People who run from their problems but end up back at the same place. People who do things that make them feel worse and then try to escape the shame by doing it again. It's not just about alcohol. This chapter is about all kinds of self-destruction. People who spend money to feel good, then feel guilty. People who hurt others, then hurt themselves. People who eat too much, lie too much, scroll too much, shout too much, and say, "I can't help it. This is not evil. This is pain." This chapter reminds us, don't laugh at someone's weakness. Try to understand the sadness behind it, and don't let your shame become your cage, because if you do, you'll become like the drunkard, going in circles forever. Chapter 13. The Planet of the Businessman. The next planet is very strange. The little prince sees a man counting things. He's serious, focused, never looks up. He's writing numbers over and over. The prince says, "Hello." No answer. "Hello," again. Still no answer. Finally, the man says, "I am very busy. Don't disturb me." The prince asks, "What are you doing?" "I am counting the stars." "Why?" "Because I own them." The prince is confused. "How can you own the stars?" "Because I thought of it first. That makes them mine. What do you do with them? I put the numbers in a bank. I write them in a book. I keep them safe. Now pause. Take a deep breath. This is not just a man counting stars. This is a man who represents greed without joy. He doesn't look at the stars. He doesn't love them. He doesn't feel anything. He just wants to own them, to say they're his. The prince says something wise. I have a flower. I water her. I take care of her. She's mine because I love her. But you do nothing for the stars. This is a huge lesson about modern life. You don't own what you do not love. Having something doesn't mean it belongs to you. Loving something, caring for it, being present with it, that's what makes it yours. The businessman in this chapter is not evil, but he is empty. He's obsessed with counting, but he has forgotten how to feel. Chapter 14. The Planet of the Lamplighter. The next planet is small. It has only a street lamp and a man who lights it. The lamplighter has one job: light the lamp when it's dark, put it out when it's morning. The prince finds this beautiful, but soon he learns the planet is turning faster and faster. Now, a day lasts only 1 minute, so the lamplighter must light and extinguish the lamp every single minute. He has no time to rest, no time to breathe. The prince watches. Light the lamp, blow it out, light it again, blow it out. The prince says, "Why don't you stop?" The man replies, "Orders are orders." He's kind, he's loyal, but he's trapped in a job that no longer makes sense. Now pause here and feel this. This man is a symbol of so many people in today's world. People who work hard, people who follow rules, people who obey blindly. But the world has changed, and no one asked, is this still meaningful? The lamplighter is tired, but he still lights the lamp because he believes in responsibility, and that's what makes the prince admire him. The prince says, he's the only grown-up I can talk to because he thinks of others, not just himself. Even though the lamplighter is stuck, he still brings light to the world every single minute, and that's beautiful. This chapter gives us a powerful truth. There is nobility in service, but don't lose your soul in the name of duty. Light the world, yes, but remember to also rest and ask yourself, is this the best use of my time? Chapter 15. The Planet of the Geographer. The little prince lands on the 6th planet. This one is much larger than the others, and on it lives a geographer. This man is sitting at a big desk, surrounded by books, maps, and important-looking papers. The prince is excited. Finally, someone who studies the world. Maybe he knows about oceans, mountains, cities, deserts. But the geographer says something strange. I don't know, I'm not an explorer. I just record what others tell me. The prince is confused. You don't go see for yourself? No, says the geographer. I'm too important. Explorers tell me what they see, and I write it down. This shocks the prince. Then the geographer says, tell me about your planet. Is there anything interesting? The prince proudly talks about his flower, but the geographer says, we don't record flowers. They're ephemeral. What does ephemeral mean? The prince asks. It means something that doesn't last. Suddenly, the prince falls silent. He realizes something heartbreaking. His flower, the one he left, might not live forever. She's delicate. She's temporary. She could die while he's gone. And for the first time, he feels real fear, not for himself, but for someone he loves. Let's pause here and understand what this chapter teaches us. The geographer is a symbol of people who collect knowledge, but never experience life. He has maps, but no memories. He writes about rivers, but has never felt the water. He talks about permanence, but doesn't understand love. And this is a danger in today's world. We collect information, but lose feeling. We chase data, but ignore emotion. We think something isn't valuable unless it lasts forever. But some of the most beautiful things in life are temporary. a sunset, a flower, a moment of love, a goodbye. This chapter teaches us don't wait until something disappears to realize it was everything. The prince decides it's time to go to his next and final stop, planet Earth. Chapter 16, Arrival on Earth. The narrator tells us Earth is not like the other planets. It's not home to one king or one drunkard or one vain man. It has hundreds of kings, thousands of businessmen, millions of vain people, and billions of adults who have forgotten how to see. It is full of rules, wars, borders, routines, systems, numbers, and noise. But it's also full of beauty, life, and secrets, if you know where to look. The narrator gives us a picture of just how crowded Earth is. There are 2 billion adults, and if they all stood close together like sardines, they would take up a space the size of a city square. In short, the Earth is big. And yet, even in this massive, complicated planet, the little prince lands quietly, invisible and unnoticed, in the middle of the desert, just like the narrator did years later. He doesn't land in a city, not in a palace, not among people. He lands alone. And that's symbolic, because even though Earth is full of people, most people feel alone. We live in crowds, but we are disconnected. We are surrounded by others, but still searching for someone to understand us. This chapter is a quiet entry, but it sets up the most powerful moments that are coming next, because now the little prince is here on Earth, and the story is about to change forever. Chapter 17, The Snake in the Desert. As the prince walks through the endless sand, he meets a golden snake. It is thin, smooth, and silent. It looks small, but feels powerful. The prince says, "Good evening. Where are the people?" The snake replies, "In the desert. You are alone here." The prince agrees, "I am alone too." The snake looks at him and says, "I can help you go back to where you came from." The prince is confused. "You can? How?" The snake replies, "Anyone I touch, I send them back to the earth they came from." The prince says, "You speak in riddles." The snake smiles, "I solve them all." This seems like a mysterious, small conversation, but it is very important, because this snake represents death, not in a scary way, not in a violent way, but in a quiet, spiritual, gentle way. The snake is not here to harm the prince. It's a symbol, a promise, a way back home when the time comes. And the prince understands that. He doesn't fear the snake. He just knows there is a path home when he is ready. Let's break this down with care. In stories and ancient symbols, snakes often represent transformation, transition between life and death, a guardian between worlds. This moment is not the end, but it's the beginning of something much bigger. The prince doesn't use the snake yet, but now he knows there is a way to return, not physically, but spiritually, to his flower, to his planet, to the love he left behind. And you, the listener, must remember this. We all have a snake in our story, a moment of return not to the past, but to the truth. Chapter 18, The Prince and the Echo of Loneliness. As the little prince walks across the earth, he finds a flower with only 3 petals. She is fragile, quiet, and lives completely alone in the desert. The prince bends down and asks her gently, "Where are the people?" The flower softly replies, "People? I saw a few many years ago, but they have no roots, and the wind blows them away." The prince is puzzled. The flower says no more. This chapter is short, but heavy with symbolism. Let's understand it. This flower is not like his rose. She is not proud. She's not poetic. She's not mysterious. She's tired, small, simple, and alone. She tells the truth with just one sentence. People have no roots. The wind blows them away. Now pause. This is a powerful line. She means people go from place to place, from goal to goal, from relationship to relationship. but never truly stay still, never grow roots, never belong to one place or one person. And because of that, they are always chasing, but never anchored. The flower disappears into the silence of the desert, and the prince walks on. Because sometimes in life, you meet people who speak few words, but those words shake you forever. Chapter 19. The Echo on the Mountain. Now the little prince climbs a high mountain, hoping to see the whole world from above and maybe hear a real voice. On his planet, he had 3 tiny volcanoes. They barely reached his knees. But here on Earth, the mountains are huge. He climbs and finally shouts into the wind, "Hello?" A voice answers, "Hello, hello, hello." He shouts again, "Who are you?" And the voice repeats, "Who are you? Who are you?" The prince frowns. "Be my friend. I am alone." And the echo repeats, "I am alone. I am alone." He listens carefully, but the only voice he hears is his own bouncing back. Let's now explore this deeply. This chapter is only a few lines long, but it is one of the most painful in the book because it shows something most people feel at some point: the pain of talking to the world and hearing only your own voice. You want connection. You want someone to reply. You want love, understanding, presence, but instead, you get echoes. People don't really answer you. They just reflect your voice back to you. And in that moment, the prince realizes Earth is big, but still lonely. That's a feeling most people today can relate to. You message someone, and they reply with one word. You try to open your heart and get silence. You try to love and feel alone in return. And the prince? He doesn't cry. He doesn't scream. He just keeps walking because sometimes you have to keep going through the silence before you find someone who truly listens. Chapter 20. The Garden of Roses. And now, the moment that breaks the little prince's heart. He's walking through the fields, still thinking of his Rose back home. In his mind, she is special, unique, one of a kind. She told him, "I'm the only rose in the universe." And he believed her. But then he turns a corner and finds an entire garden full of roses, hundreds, thousands, all blooming, all beautiful, all like his rose. He stands there frozen. He says quietly, "They all look like her." And then, with a heavy voice, he says, "I thought I was rich because I had one unique flower, but I have nothing. She's not unique. She's just like all of them." The pain hits him. His heart breaks. He lies in the grass and cries. Let's pause. Let's understand this. This moment is about betrayal, not because his rose lied, but because he built his identity around someone who made him feel special, and now he doesn't know who he is. If she's not unique, then maybe our love wasn't special. Maybe I wasn't special either. This is how many people feel after heartbreak. You loved someone. You trusted them, you gave them your whole heart, and then one day, you see them move on, or you meet someone just like them, or you realize they weren't as rare as you thought, and it destroys you. But this moment, this painful garden, is not the end. It's the beginning of the greatest lesson the little prince will ever learn. He just doesn't know it yet, because soon he will meet the fox. Chapter 21. The Fox. Tame me. The little prince continues walking across the earth, and suddenly he meets a fox, not a dangerous animal, not a wild threat, but a gentle, curious creature. The prince says, "Play with me, I'm so sad." The fox replies, "I cannot play with you. I am not tamed." The prince asks, "What does that mean, tame?" And the fox explains something that changes the entire story. To tame means to create a bond. You become special to me. I become special to you. We create something that didn't exist, before he continues. To me, you are just a little boy like 100,000 other boys, and I am just a fox like 100,000 other foxes. But if you tame me, we will need each other. You will be unique in the world to me. The little prince listens, slowly starting to understand. "I'm beginning to understand," he says. He sits with the fox every day, at first from a distance, then closer still. Each day, the fox teaches him, "You must come at the same time each day. That way, my heart will begin to expect you." And slowly, the two of them tame each other. They don't say much. They just sit together in the grass, quietly, feeling the connection grow between them. And then, the time comes for goodbye. The little prince says, "It's time for me to go." The fox says, "Yes, and now I will cry." The prince is surprised. "But it was your idea. I never meant to hurt you." The fox smiles with sadness and says, "Yes, but because you tamed me, my life is full of color now." And then the fox gives him a gift, a secret. It is only with the heart that one can see clearly. What is essential is invisible to the eye. And finally, you become responsible for what you have tamed. Let's pause here. Because this chapter is not just important, it is the most powerful lesson in the entire book. The fox is not teaching the prince how to play. He is teaching him how to love. Here's what the fox means. Love is not about owning. It's not about appearances. It's not about being the only one. Real love is built slowly through time, presence, rituals, and understanding. When you give someone your time, when you wait for them, when you grow with them, they become irreplaceable. And with that, the prince remembers his rose. She may not be the only rose in the universe, but she is the one he tamed, and that makes her unique. This is the moment he truly understands. My rose is important because of the time I gave her, because of how I cared for her, because of how we tamed each other. He is no longer confused. He is no longer angry. He is no longer lost. This chapter is the answer to every question he had in his heart. Chapter 22, The Railway Switchman. After the goodbye with the fox, the little prince walks again. He meets a railway switchman, a man who controls trains that pass through. The man explains, "I send trains to the right or left. Some trains go one way, others go the opposite." The prince watches the trains go by. He sees passengers inside, looking out the window, children with their faces pressed against the glass, adults staring ahead, busy, serious, tired. The prince asks, "Where are they going?" The switchman says, "They don't even know. They're just in a hurry." The prince asks, "Why are the children looking outside?" "Because children always know what they're looking for," the man replies. Now, this might seem like a quiet chapter, but it holds another powerful message. Let me explain. The trains represent life's speed. Everyone is in a rush, always moving, always changing direction. But no one is asking, why am I in a hurry? Where am I going? What am I chasing? Adults chase money, work, status, stuff, but they lose connection, presence, and peace. And the children? They look outside the window. They see beauty. They ask questions. They hold teddy bears. They still remember how to feel. This chapter reminds us as we grow up, we forget how to look outside. We stop seeing what matters and just move faster. But speed is not success. Sometimes the most beautiful parts of life come when you stop the train and simply look out the window. Chapter 23, The Sales Clerk with the Thirst Pills. The little prince now meets a strange man, a sales clerk who sells pills that stop thirst. He says, "Take one pill a week and you won't feel thirsty anymore." The prince is confused. "Why do you sell this?" "It saves time," the clerk replies. "People don't have to look for water. They save 53 minutes a week." The prince thinks for a moment. Then he says, "If I had 53 extra minutes, I would walk slowly toward a spring of fresh water." And that is a sentence you should remember for life, because this chapter teaches us a truth about modern life. People try to eliminate every discomfort. They want speed. They want shortcuts. They want to save time. But they don't know why they're saving time. They forget that some of life's most beautiful moments come from the journey, not the destination. The prince says, "I would rather walk slowly to a spring than save time with pills." And that shows you his soul. He values presence, nature, stillness, wonder, feeling thirsty, and then feeling joy when drinking water. This chapter may look small, but it's huge, because today we live in a world of thirst pills, quick fixes, speedy solutions, fast food, fast apps, fast money, fast success. But we forget there's beauty in being human, in thirsting, and then sipping slowly from a real spring. Chapter 24, The Thirst in the Desert. At this point in the story, we finally return to where the book began. The narrator, the pilot, is still in the desert with the little prince. His plane has been broken for 8 days. His water is gone. He is weak, tired, and close to dying. But the prince is not panicking. He says, "Let's go look for a well." The narrator is surprised. "We are in the middle of the desert. You don't find wells in the sand." But the prince keeps walking. His steps are slow. His eyes are calm. His heart is full of silence but not fear. So the narrator follows him. As they walk, the narrator looks at the boy's face, and then he realizes something heartbreaking. He looks fragile, like a little candle that might blow out at any moment. Now, pause here. This chapter is about much more than physical thirst. It's about spiritual hunger, loneliness, the quiet pain we carry inside, and the search for something pure and life-giving. Not just water, but meaning. The narrator realizes that the little prince is not of this world. He is soft, delicate, almost like he's made of light, not flesh. And the desert, the silence, the thirst is pushing both of them towards something deeper than survival. They're not just looking for water. They're looking for truth, something real, something refreshing, something that reminds them we are still alive. And it means something. Chapter 25, The Hidden Well. After walking all night under the stars, finally, as the sun rises, they find a well. It's not just a hole in the sand. It's an old stone-built well with a rope and pulley, like something from a fairy tale. The prince smiles. The narrator pulls the rope. The sound of the bucket rising is music in the silence of the desert. They drink, and it's not just refreshing. It feels holy. It's not just water. It's a gift, a reminder that even in the deepest dryness, there is still something pure waiting beneath the surface. Now listen to what the little prince says. What makes the desert beautiful is that it hides a well somewhere. This sentence is one of the most powerful truths in the book. Let's break it down. What makes something truly beautiful? Not its surface, not its decoration, but the invisible gift hidden inside it. Just like people may look cold or quiet, but they carry love and pain inside. Life may seem dry or meaningless, but it hides purpose if you dig deep enough. The desert may seem dead, but it holds living water for those who keep walking, and that's exactly what this chapter teaches. Beauty comes from the invisible things, from the quiet things, from the things we can only feel with the heart. As they rest, the prince says, "The people where you live grow 5,000 roses in one garden, but they still don't find what they're looking for, and yet what they seek could be found in a single rose or a drop of water." Let that sink in. This is the truth of modern life. We search everywhere, we chase everything, we want more, but we forget sometimes the thing we need most is already with us: love, a small friend, a glass of water, a moment of silence. And that is what the narrator finally understands. He is no longer just a pilot. He is now a student of the prince's wisdom. And the prince, he is preparing to return. Chapter 26, The Goodbye. Now the story begins to break your heart. The narrator fixes his plane. He tells the prince, "You'll be safe now. I can go back home." But the prince, he's not smiling. He's quiet. He says, I'm going back too, back to my planet, back to my flower. The narrator doesn't understand. How? What do you mean? And then the prince explains softly, he has a plan. He will let the snake, remember the golden snake from chapter 17, bite him gently so that his spirit can leave his body and return to his planet. The narrator is horrified. No, that's dangerous. That's death. But the prince calmly says, don't be afraid. It will only look like I'm dying. My body will fall, but that's just a shell. I'll be going home. He continues, you mustn't come when it happens. It will make you sad, and you'll think I'm gone, but I'm not. My body is too heavy to take with me. Let's pause here. This is one of the most emotional scenes ever written in literature. The prince is not afraid of death because to him death is not an ending, it's a return. He is going back to his rose, to take care of her, to be with the one he tamed. He is not running away, he is going home. And what makes this chapter so powerful is that it's not dramatic. It's quiet. It's gentle. It's full of love and peace. That night, the prince walks into the desert. The narrator watches from a distance, and then the snake bites. The prince falls silently. No cry, no fear, just stillness. The narrator runs to him, but the boy's body is already still. He kneels beside him and cries like a man who has lost his child, his best friend, his teacher, his light. And that's how the chapter ends, with goodbye, with loss, with a love so deep that words can't describe it. Chapter 27, The Star That Laughs. Time has passed. The narrator, the pilot, has returned home. His plane was repaired. His body is alive, but his soul is forever changed because the little prince is gone, or at least his body is gone. The narrator tells us what happened that morning after the snake bit the prince. He searched for the boy's body, but it had disappeared, gone. No footprints, no sign, nothing. And in that moment, he knew the little prince had gone home, not just in words, but truly gone, back to his planet, back to his flower, back to the tiny world where his heart belonged. But the story doesn't end there because the prince gave the narrator a gift before leaving. He said, at night, look up at the sky. You'll see the stars, and one of them will be mine. You won't know which one, but it doesn't matter because every time you look, you'll hear my laugh, and it will be as if all the stars are laughing. Let that sit in your heart. The narrator says, the stars are not silent anymore because when I look up, I hear a child's laughter from the sky. Now let's pause and understand how powerful this is. This final chapter is about grief, memory, love, and the invisible thread that never breaks even after someone is gone. The little prince didn't give the narrator money, advice, or a gift he could hold. He gave him something eternal, a way to remember, a way to love even after loss, a way to see the world differently forever. And now the narrator passes that gift to us. He says, if you ever travel to the desert and you meet a little boy with golden hair who doesn't answer your questions directly, you'll know it's him. Please write to me because I never want to forget. And then the story ends with a drawing, a picture of the landscape where the prince fell. The narrator says, this is the place where he disappeared. Don't forget it. He draws it like a map so you can find your way back, too. And he finishes with this final sentence. Look at the sky. Ask yourself, did the little prince return to his planet? Did he go back to his flower? He doesn't answer the question because he wants you to feel it, to look up at the stars tonight and listen for the laugh. Now that you've heard the whole story, now that you've walked beside the prince, drunk water from the well, tamed the fox, and watched the stars, let me tell you what this story is really about. Not as a summary, but as a reminder for your life. This book is not for children. It is for every grown-up who lost their imagination, forgot how to love softly, walked away from someone they once tamed, believed money was more important than presents, counted numbers but never watched sunsets, forgot how to sit quietly in the grass, or stood at a window hearing only echoes. This book is about your rose. Yes, your rose. The one person in your life that you've tamed, the one you gave time to, the one who is not perfect, but special. Not because they're rare, but because you made them yours. And now you understand. You are responsible for what you tame, even if they're far away, even if you said goodbye, even if they're only a memory now. This book is about the fox inside all of us, the part of us that says, please tame me. Make me feel seen. Make me feel loved. Make me feel special in a world full of noise. And when someone tames us, we cry because they touched our soul, but we don't regret it because now the field is golden, the stars are laughing, and the desert is beautiful. So, what should you do now? Maybe tonight just step outside, look up at the sky, find the brightest star, close your eyes, and ask, is that the prince's star? Is he laughing now? Or maybe, is that the face of someone I love, someone I miss, someone I tamed, still shining from above? Because if you feel a little tear fall down your cheek, then you've understood the story, and it will stay with you forever. Thank you for listening to this journey, not just with your ears, but with your heart. If this story moved you, if it reminded you of someone, if it made you want to love more gently, live more slowly, and see with the heart, then this was not just a book summary. This was a message, and now it belongs to you. So please don't forget the prince, don't forget the fox, don't forget the rose, and never forget the sky. Because now, whenever you look at the stars, they will laugh just for you. If this story touched your heart, I want to hear from you. Tell me in the comments, did you feel it? Did you like it? What part of The Little Prince stayed with you the most? Your words matter, and I'd love to know what this journey meant to you. And if you want more powerful stories like this, stories that improve your English and change your life, then subscribe right now. Because some stories don't just end when the book closes, they live inside you forever. Just like The Little Prince. Thank you for being here. You are part of this family now. Stay inspired, stay curious, and remember, the most important things are often invisible to the eye, but always felt by the heart.